You're listening to Rule the Galaxy podcast. I'm Vanessa Marshall, Harrison Dulon, Star Wars Rebels. May the Force be with you always.
Join me. Together we can rule the galaxy far from sun.
Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule the Galaxy friends. Welcome back to the July edition of Across the Space Whale Pond. I don't think we got a June edition in. We went May, had busy Junes, and I think we're just catching back up for July. So this episode, we are starting off with our good friend, the guy who, he does a little bit of everything with Star Wars. And he's talked to a little bit of everyone in Star Wars, and somehow he still talks to me, Mr. Mark Newbold. How you doing, Mark?
I'm very well. Busy as always, as you alluded to, but good. It's the summer here. The weather's nice. Wimbledon's on. The World Cup's going well. I can't grumble.
You mix in Wimbledon, the World Cup, the 4th of July here in the United States. It's just a banner weekend for the country.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
So we're excited. England has moved on to the round of 16. We're going to add Mark Mulcaster in live with us here as well. England has moved on to the round of 16. The U.S. has moved on to the round of 16.
Yeah.
My secondary love, Italy, they didn't even show up for the whole event. I think they forgot that it was going on this year.
Let's say that's what happened.
Yes.
I mean, they either turn up and win it or don't turn up at all.
There we go.
Yeah.
See, you listened to Across the Space Whale Pond. You did not know you were going to get football/soccer talk on this episode. So we always love to catch up. Everybody's here. The whole gang's here. Mr. Mulcaster, welcome to the show. How are you? And he's muted.
And he's miming again. Wow. He's like Marcel, but without the talent. Look at that. Look at that.
I always thought if there was a thing I wanted to do, it would be miming. Because you really, what do you have to do?
Well, Newbold knows that mime, so.
Sign language is great for podcasting. Well done.
Hey, I always ask you guys for
video. I keep on forgetting this is a live video as well. So
it's okay.
I'm so sorry.
We don't edit anything out of this, Mark. It goes live. I mean, well, it's not live now, but it will be live, and people can just enjoy all the fun and frivolity we do. But I usually ask you guys first for your bits and bobs, but there's something I couldn't pass up. One, I saw a sale, and with Obi-Wan and Asajj being two of my favorites, I got this new Lego set, the V-19 Torrent Starfighter. Cannot wait to put that together.
Good choice.
And then I've always thought that I lost something of my Star Wars lore, and I found out the other day I didn't. I've been listening to the Star Wars Christmas in the Stars album, record, whatever, on CD for years because I had misplaced the album. Found out that my little baby brother, Tony, had it in his closet the whole time. I've just been gifted back the 1980 Christmas in the Stars album, and I could not be happier about that.
Brilliant.
It's part of my childhood being brought back to me. So
nothing is better, even in the middle of June, than hearing Anthony Daniels, or July as we are now, singing "Bells, Bells, Bells." That nothing tops that.
Christmas.
That's the one.
Come on, it's fantastic. But I thought I'd start off the show with that because I thought you'd get a kick. Yes, the Lego thing is always fun. We add little things like that, but bringing some history back into my Star Wars fandom was great. So, how's everything going for you? Anything new, different, fun, exciting in the Star Wars world for either one of you? I'm going to let Mr. Mark Mulcaster start that off. What's going on with you? What fun things have you done recently or added or anything like that?
Fun things. Well, I hung out with Newbold and Mr. Fan for Tracks Guy up in Birmingham on Saturday. We were meant to be doing a convention, which was cancelled 2 days before it was actually due to happen. Can you believe that? Anyhow, but on better news, and this will please Newbold, I got my refund for my ticket today.
Oh, good. You got it. Oh, good. I'm pleased about that.
Yeah, I went. I didn't even wait. I just went through my bank and just did it from my bank. So I still got to pay. Still got to get my autograph money back because it was Felicity Jones who was going to be there, who hasn't signed for 10 years, and John Boyega was going to be there. And yeah, so anyhow, doesn't matter. Moving on. What have I got new? So yeah, I've had for a long time my expanded universe hardback novels in a plastic couple, about 4 plastic tubs in my collection room, and that annoyed me. And it also annoyed me that I had all my vintage vehicles, which were kind of stacked up in a cupboard, which isn't the best way of displaying them. So I kind of had a bit of a kind of rearrange the other day and kind of like pulled all the vintage vehicles out, then used that bookcase to then put all my expanded universe novels in the correct chronological order. Found I was missing one, so I then went on eBay, and so I got my last one, which was a sacrifice. So I say the last one. I mean, there's probably loads of different variants and stuff, but this is like the main hardback releases by Del Rey, Box Tree, or whoever it was who did them back in the day. Bantam Press, wasn't it? So that's all done. So I'm happy, and I've now got vintage like vehicles and play sets kind of floating around the collection in a little bit more of a nicer kind of way. Not really nice because they're now on top of the bookcases, but they're slightly more visible than they once were. So yeah,
good.
But more importantly, sorry, I buried the lead on this one. I went up and actually saw Newbold's collection for the first time.
I love it. I love that you guys get together and are able to do that. So many of the guys that I talk to here in the States, obviously 2 of my regular co-hosts, Alfie and Brent, are right down the street from me. D-Doc's in Philadelphia. We talk to Steve Glosson, Michael Knipp, Scott Rifen all the time. They're in Atlanta, Alabama and Georgia. Very hard to get in touch with those guys and see them face to face. Quite a bit of distance between us. So I'm glad you guys get a chance to do that. I'm sorry your event got canceled though, but I will say off the recent events you guys have been going to, I've loved the Fantha Tracks and Making Tracks content. You've had some great interviews and some great just different conversations based on different events you went to. I love the Ian McDermott. I got a chance to interview and be a part of an interview with him a few years back, and hearing him tell his stories, fantastic stuff. I just love Ian McDermott. It's so crazy that the most evil guy in the universe can be such a great interview and such a great person. So
yeah, he was brilliant. That was at Power of the Force in Cologne in Germany a few weeks ago, and there's more content coming from there. There was about 5 really good panels, but he did 2 panels. So everybody you hear on Making Tracks, they all did a panel either the previous day or the day after, depending on whether it was a Saturday or a Sunday panel I recorded. And really good. So couldn't not put that one out. But yeah, he's a good interview, and his voice is still there. Just still sounds like him. It's brilliant.
It seems like he's still got a lot of fun and passion in him. Mark, Newbold, how about you? Anything new? Any bits and bobs? Any new collectibles? Anything catching your eye or that you've brought home?
Let me think. Nothing that's leaping out, although there's always stuff knocking around in different places. A couple of Mark got me a Mando movie poster that he picked up for me from the cinema, and I got one at the UK fan event that Matt Booker took back with him, so I got that. So I ended up getting 2 posters this weekend, which was nice. And a few of the bits and bobs, not really bought a huge amount lately. Everything's ticking over. We had, like I say, Mark came and saw the room finally after blah years of talking about it, for about 15 years, isn't it?
But never carrying through with it, yeah.
Never quite happened, did it? So now you've seen it, so that's one other thing we can tick off the list. I'm going to Rebel Scum Con as well, so I'm very much looking forward to that. So that's going to be fun. And
that was the question I had for you. I wanted to hear about that. Frisco, Texas, right?
Yeah. Well, I've been thinking about it for a while, and it's just never quite been able to manage to sort of figure the logistics out. The big reason is obviously Insider's finished now, and I spoke to Ruth about it. I says I want to do something memorable with my last Insider sort of money from the articles. So rather than just buy, this month's comics and books or whatever it might be that I couldn't put my finger on in a year's time what it was, I wanted to do something definitive. And so, it worked out. We got a brilliant deal on flights. Bit of to and fro, and it's sort of Heathrow to Paris, Paris to Heathrow, Heathrow to Dallas, but it saves us about 500 quid on each ticket. So it's worth the hassle. And traveling light, so it should be easy. The guys over there are being very accommodating as well. So yeah, very much looking forward to it. It should be a fun trip, and there's going to be loads of faces there and excellent guests. And I just hope that this event that got cancelled at the weekend isn't a precursor to going to cause me any bad luck for this one, because that wouldn't be fun, and I don't want to jinx it. So pretend I never said that. But it's going to be fun. Definitely going to be fun.
I did see that some of the initial guests for Star Wars Celebration were getting posted, and it's some of the typical, some of the ones that I think have all come to know and love, especially from the Clone Wars and Rebels kind of era and all that kind of stuff. But the voice actors, great cast. Matt Lander, James Arnold Taylor, Ashley Eckstein. I'm sure there's others I'm blanking right now off the top of my head, but all great guests. I'm looking forward to seeing if there can be some interaction there. So I love seeing that news starting to sprinkle in that the things are going with Celebration. And I know you guys talked about getting shirts or hats or things that were in the merchandise store. I saw they re-released or reopened some of that. Did you guys see that or get an email about that?
I didn't, because I didn't buy my Celebration ticket. Somebody else did, but he did go back in and get me the lanyard set we couldn't get the first time round. But yeah, okay. I owe him a few hundred quid for accommodation, so I didn't want to ask too much this time.
Yeah, I've not ordered anything. I'm terrible, so I'm completely at the mercy of eBay and whatever else. I mean, hopefully, I don't know how they're doing it this time. Whether there'll be stuff in the shop or whether it's just going to be t-shirts. I've really not looked into any of the details on this. So yeah, it's probably going to be an expensive eBay search for me. I'll get scalped by the scalpers probably.
Yeah.
I've never had that much luck on eBay. I've stayed away from eBay. I've tried some other, offshoot things like Mercari and different places like that. And I've had better luck, and it seems like it's a little bit more ease. Sometimes eBay to me has been very difficult on the ordering and the bidding and all those kind of things. So I'm glad you guys use that and have good luck with it. It's just never been my cup of tea. So I did want to throw this out there. I know I'm bouncing around, but I wanted to check with you on this. I'm right that this year is the 30th anniversary of Shadows of the Empire, correct? 1996 to 2026.
Yeah.
I reread the book just recently. I've got the other guys on Rule of the Galaxy rereading the book, so we can have a show directly related to it. But everybody I've been having on, I've been talking a little bit about it. One of my favorite all-time action figures is the Luke in the special Emperor's Royal Guard. I don't even remember the exact title of it, but it was something similar to that. I've kept that since 1996. I love that figure, but looking back at Shadows of the Empire, anything that you guys want to reminisce about, or anything that really stood out to you that we had a movie without a movie, and we had comics, action figures, we had a soundtrack, we had a video game, we had everything you could have and want. And between you and me, I wish is exactly how they would have approached the High Republic. That's another subject for another time. But I look back and I think that was such a memorable time. I was newly married. I had a young son. The Thrawn trilogy and Dark Empire and all that stuff had come out. You're prepping for the special editions and all that. And this little nugget comes out that just kind of caught all Star Wars fans' attention. What do you guys remember from that, looking in the Wayback Machine? I'll let either one of you start. Mark Mulcaster started last time. We'll go with Newbold this time. What's your best memories from Shadows of the Empire?
There's a few things. Mostly, one thing is modern people now can be a bit sniffy about it if they weren't around for it. And that probably gets people's backs up because you had to be around for it. But when that came out, you know, Kenner had just started re-releasing the figures. Galoob were going mad. Applause were going mad. You know, all these licensees were starting to really build because they knew, because the licensees always know ahead of most people.
Right.
There was new stuff coming. So there was a real sort of groundswell. Insider had a head of steam. I think you still got Star Wars Gamer around then. The Galaxy magazine was around then. So there was lots of stuff to get. The books, as Mark just talked about, the expanded universe, that was really running hot. And then Shadows comes in. You know, with the Drew Struzan cover, and as you say, the soundtrack that's got the Philharmonic Orchestra doing the Joel McNeely soundtrack. McNeely had done, like, you know, Young Indie Chronicles scores, and so there's lots of elements. Steve Perry writing the book, who was like a notable writer in that space. So there was lots of elements that were really fascinating. But the things that really got me was the art of Shadows of the Empire book. That felt like it belonged to a movie with Sheezor on the cover. That was amazing. The Topps trading cards, the Hildebrandt trading card set, that just felt like main event because it was the guys that did the original movie poster. So there was all these things that were all coming together, and then you got the wave of figures, and obviously you got, you know, Slave One, could we still call it that? Slave One came out in Shadows packaging, you know, all the other things that came out with it, as I say, the Micro Machine sets, and all of a sudden there's loads of Shadows stuff, which was amazing. And I love the point you make. I wish that High Republic had done something similar. I think it would have been quite exciting. But I think you look back historically in the Star Wars timeline, it came at just the right moment because we're on the cusp of the special edition. We're in that still early-ish CGI era. So anything new was amazing. We look back at it now and go, oh, looks a bit wobbly now, but then it was amazing. So there's all the excitement of that. Plus we were 30 years younger. So, you know, we got excited about different things. And we also kind of knew we weren't that far away from the next trilogy starting, because that was all starting to sort of be bubbling around in the early internet days online. So I think it was just a confluence of lots of things, and it was very, very special. And it's still an amazing soundtrack.
Very much. Very much. Mulcaster, how about you?
Newbold's kind of nailed it pretty much, as he always does. But you know, so it's a good job he's going in 12 minutes. No, I mean, for me, so like as we've discussed before, for me, I mean, I got into Star Wars in like 91, 92. So this was the first major big kind of like anything to do with Star Wars. I mean, like the Timothy Zahn books were already out by the time I was collecting, and there was already Power Force 2 figures. But yeah, this, and also because I was, you know, like 13, 14 or something like that, 15, prime kind of like, you know, gaming age for that. So that was a big deal. So yeah, so that it was just basically that, and you just kind of, you look back now and you go, oh, you know, nowadays we take it for granted. Every time there is a game out these days, they pump out the soundtrack, but it tends to only go into Spotify. Never a physical release for it. And so yeah, and also again the figures, but purple and black carded figures, and I remember there being quite a few kind of miscards, especially for holographic ones kind of floating around about. They seem to do a lot of miscards of like figures being put on the wrong card backs and stuff. But yeah, the Outrider is still one of my favorite ships that I don't actually own. It's one of those ones that I've got 3 or 4 of them, funnily enough, on my eBay watch list, but I don't know. There's always something else to pull the trigger on, isn't there? You know, it's 120 quid you could spend somewhere else, but one of these days I will get it. So
yeah, it was a special time. I mean, I for Mr. Newbold, myself, to be the ones who were, you know, 6 years old when the original Star Wars came out, we kind of fit the right mold that they were looking for. We wanted to have that time in our 20s to rekindle something from our childhood. And so between those comics, those novels, and then Shadows of the Empire all coming out and re-releasing the figures, man, it was kind of like that secondary gold age of Star Wars right there in that 4 or 5 year time frame. And that was before the prequels were even, like you said, they weren't even out. They were just more of a discussion at that time. So, yeah. But I really wish, as we're releasing the movies back in theaters and things like that now on their anniversaries, I really would have liked to have seen a big splash of a reminiscent thing, a marketing thing related to a 30-year anniversary to Shadows of the Empire. I know it's non-canon now, I guess, but it sure felt real, and it felt like a great, even, and I one of our co-hosts the other day mentioned the comics at that time weren't doing a straight just covering of the book. They were telling other stories going on, like one comic was just about Boba Fett and his things going on that really weren't even in the book at all, and it was just that time frame. So
well, you had the Battle of the Bounty Hunters pop-out book, which was kind of Shadows adjacent, wasn't it? Mm. And then you had Shadows, and then you had Shadow Evolutions, if I remember rightly, the Guri one. So there was lots of little things going on there. So yeah, that's a good point. I think, well, two things on that point, Joe. I don't know why Retro Collection don't do Shadows of the Empire figures, because I think they'd do great. They'd do fantastic. Because, as I say, and they all say, "Oh, we haven't got the molds." Blah blah blah. You have got the molds. It can't be that difficult. Really, honestly, a 5 POA figure, it can't be that difficult. But is there a market for it? That'll be their point. Is there a market for it? But just celebrating things like this, historical moments in the Star Wars story, especially as we come to the 50th. That we hadn't even got to the 20th in '96. Here we are on the curb of the 50th. So, which is scary. But yeah, I got a lot of time for Shadows of the Empire.
I related to that. I'm sure you both saw the Jason and Jaina Solo figures that they're releasing, which those looked great. I mean, I've been really narrowing my collection, but those two right there, I thought, man, that was such a core of the 1990s and early 2000s for me, with all those novels related to them. And my son really collects the Solo line, right? Like Han Solo and Ben Solo and Leia Organa Solo. One of his main focuses of the characters that he collects are related to that. So when I send him Jason and Jaina, he goes, "Whoa, what's going on here?" Because he's a very young man compared to us. He didn't even really know that much about them. And I said, "Oh, you've got to go read these books." So then I put together the list of all the books they were in. And he said, "Dad, I don't have time." The amount of books, we look back, the amount of books that they were in a 15-year time frame was phenomenal. I cannot believe it. And there were some of the great storylines that I considered like my Star Wars at that time were based on those characters. So what are your thoughts on the Jaina and Jason Solo and their storyline and the new figures and everything like that? We'll let Mulcaster go first.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, they were born in during Last Command, weren't they? Were they? Yeah.
I think they were.
And it was one of those things that, like, up until really the New Jedi Order, they were kind of kids, real kids, and then suddenly they had this massive growth spurt, and they're kind of like, taking on alien invaders and stuff. But the Legacy of a Force series, that's the one which came after New Jedi Order, wasn't it? I mean, that deals quite heavily with their relationship, and it's quite powerful, especially when you because they're still dealing with and reeling from the death of Anakin, who died in one of the New Jedi Order books. So I can remember, was it the Corellian trilogy, which is like the one with Frack and Sal Solo, and I think they're flying the Falcon, and they're about age 5 or something. So there's a bit of jump. There's definitely some jumping of the sharks, kind of like situations with what their abilities enabled them to do. But I mean, really, up until the reboot, like Jaina was, I mean, she was kind of like, she was the accepted Rey, as it were, of Star Wars, and really like she was one of the futures of, like, of where the expanded universe was going, because she had to kill her brother and her other brother died. So her and Ben Solo, Ben Skywalker.
Newbold, how about you?
Much way more of an expert on the EU than me. I never got a chance to read everything. And describing Jaina like the Rey of the, that's a really good way. I've never thought of it that way. It's a really good way of putting it. I just think now there's enough of a hunger. Now we've got Ninth Jedi just come out, the animated spin-off from Visions, and they're prepared to do these alternate universe, if you like, versions of Star Wars, enough to the point where they will put money into making an animated series out of it. And there's a huge chunk of the fan base who, if they said, well, these two figures are coming out, and hey, we're going to do New Jedi Order as an animated series. Oh my God, just give me, that's printing money. So there's a little part of me wonders, I get why not, because they parked it and they wanted to do something new. But now we're sort of, what is it, 15 years next year since the whole thing happened. Yeah. So now, hopefully, the canon era is big enough and brave enough and bold enough and tough enough to stand on its own whilst they do these offshoot EU or Legends storylines that wouldn't harm anyone. But I think that they think they would be competing against themselves. It's all the same sandbox. It's all the same galaxy, if you like. There's a little part of me thinks that they could do that. And so, like Mark says, you go right back to, the Thrawn trilogy, which is 4 or 5 years after Jedi, Mando era, if you like, in the current timeline. And they ran it all the way through to Crucible. I think Crucible's the last one, which was like 40 odd years after, which is beyond where we are now. Even with Starfighter, it's further on than Starfighter will be. So there's so much they could do in there if they wanted to. And, production techniques get quicker, and saying cheaper denotes a negative, but you know what I'm saying. They can turn these things around faster. I think
more
there's
efficient.
More efficient. Well said, right, industry Thank professional. You. Well said. So I think there's ways of doing this, that could make it happen. So yeah, there's stuff to do.
I mean, one thing I have to ask actually, and I'll ask you, Joe, is like, as Mark said, like, it's been 15 years since the reclassification of Expanded Universe into Legends. Now, obviously, they're still they're still pumping out like the Essentials Legends guide. There will basically come a point where everything has been re-released under that banner. But my question really is the current like canon and let's call it new expanded universe, is it robust enough that actually, if you were to have some new Jedi Order or some Legends stuff be re-released or something, or made into an animated series, it would actually stand up? And I don't know if it would, to be honest. I think it's kind of like it's chalk and cheese.
It organically grew, didn't it? Yeah. The EU organically grew, and you had somebody like Leland Shee and people before him who were kind of making it hand together, and things like Timeline Gold and all the fan timelines that made it work to the point where they sympathetically blended it with the existing canon and rejigged things. So, you had all your pre-2005 Revenge of the Sith, Clone Wars type stuff, like your Tartakovsky stuff and your Dark Horse stuff, and that all kind of got redone again, because this is the third or fourth iteration of the Matrix, if you think about it. You had all the Marvel stuff that got rid of, then you had all the novel stuff that got rid of, then you had the Clone Wars stuff, and so we've done this before. I think it can be done.
I think the name Star Wars is strong enough to where I think we all hope that there's a group of people who were like you and I in 1977 that grew up with the sequel trilogy in the same time frame. Hopefully there were a bunch of 6 to 12-year-olds who are now 21 to whatever that have lived through this, that can be their Star Wars, right? And there can be people our age who can say that was our Star Wars, but it's all under that same umbrella. And I don't think there's like, if we go to Celebration, which we are, there's going to be cosplays of Jaina, there's going to be cosplays of Rey, there's going to be cosplays of Mara Jade. There are going to be all of those at one location. And I don't think you're going to have people there going, you can't wear that in here. We're blocking that,
maybe
right?
the bikini. Come on, maybe the bikini.
No, definitely not that. I mean, to be fair, like this weekend, we're doing an event at the National Space Centre in Leicester called Galactic Gathering, Festival of the Force. And my partner's going to be in Mara Jade. So, and to be fair, like she wears it.
Can you not shoot a Nerf gun at her this time?
No. No, I can't. Like she kind of like thoroughly expects that when she goes to that, she probably won't be recognized at all. And maybe on a good day at an actual convention like MCM, she might get maybe 4 or 5 kind of like call outs that people are, how cool to see Mara Jade. But then that's because it's not necessarily Star Wars specific. You'd think at Celebration, it's a home game, isn't it? Really, like you're singing to the choir. So and I think that's the thing is the more niche a cosplay and costume you can do at Celebration, just like the more people go, oh my god, I've never seen that. It's like when I first saw the guy who wore like the spider legs maul.
Yes.
At Celebration, you're just like, how fantastic is that? You'd never see that normally.
Mr. Newbold, before you go, I'm just going to let you know, my wife and I, for the 4th of July weekend here, we have decided we're going to take a road trip. I'm sure you've heard of this. The Wright-Patterson Air Force Base Museum for the Air Force has an actual TIE fighter and an actual X-Wing. We're going to go visit that this weekend. So I will send you plenty of pictures or videos so you can check that out online.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, but have a great weekend. Thanks for joining in with us. Go take care of what you got to take care of.
Brilliant. I'll see you guys later. Thanks again. Speak soon.
So Mr. Mallcaster.
Hello.
Hi. Great to see you again. Great to just have a little private fireside chat here. I
apologize. I'm at work still, so this is why the camera's rubbish, because it's on my laptop and stuff.
Don't worry about it. We run on bubblegum and shoestrings here, so it's perfectly okay. I saw some things that stood out to me recently. I saw an article, and I wanted to pick your brain on it because I'm not sure if I'm going to assume you've ridden this, but Star Tours. You've ridden Star Tours, correct?
Both the old and the new, yes.
Okay. Well, I saw somebody write, is it still valid, or is it kind of a discounted thing now that Galaxy's Edge is right there next to it? I personally, it was the first Star Wars thing that I visited when I went, when I got the chance to do that back in the 90s and take my son to it. We got there and saw that AT-AT and went through and rode the ride. I still think it stands out. I still love it every time I'm in there. Unfortunately, my beautiful wife doesn't do well with the virtual rides. Yeah. So I don't take her on it like I want to because I want her to see all the different things that are part of it. But it's just tough to do that with her on that. But still, I think it's one of the fun rides, and I don't think it's antiquated at all. Do you feel like there's any thing like that?
No. So so one, I haven't been to a Galaxy's Edge yet. So I know. I haven't had a chance to get out to the States since Galaxy's Edge came out. So
oh my goodness.
Next year, like that is Celebration and Galaxy's Edge. And then I can die a happy man. But maybe not just like after I've been to Galaxy's Edge. That'd be a bit extreme.
Well, I definitely want to hear your feedback then after that, because Star Tours is its own separate entity thing, but I still feel like it's just as valid as anything you're going to ride, Smuggler's Run or Rise of Resistance. I think it's all part of that big umbrella we just talked about, and it brings certain fans into certain things with it. And now they've added new features, new screens, new video. I can't wait to ride it again.
Well, yeah, exactly. To your point, I can remember. So I first rode Star Tours in MGM Studios in Florida in like '94, I think it was. And about 10 or 11 years ago, went to Disneyland Paris, or Euro Disney, as it was once called, for about 12 months. And so this was before they had done the update to Star Tours, shall we say. Mm-hmm. So everything, like all the video screens and stuff were original, kind of original screens, and like it had film weave and shake on like the infomercials and stuff, like as you stood in the queue. And the same as like when the whole thing was done kind of like on film, and it was probably on videotape at that point, but it was originally shot on film. And we went back to Disneyland Paris in December and went to the updated one, and it was great. And in Disneyland Paris, that's all you've got. There was plans to do, I think it was going to be one of the rides. I think it might have been like Smuggler's Run rather than Rise of Resistance. but I think that has since gone away. So I don't think at the moment, and I could be wrong, I don't really follow a huge amount of like Disney kind of like development news, but I don't think you're going to get anything else at Disneyland Paris as it is. So yes, completely valid. And it's fun. It's completely fun. And the thing is that like, I mean, I know you can, and they have been able to with Smuggler's Run, you can kind of build in, but like, the updates to the storylines and stuff and go to different planets. I mean, it's a lot easier to do with Star Tours, I think, than it is anywhere else, because it's literally like you just hyper jump and then you can be wherever you want to be.
Right.
So, so I've been looking forward to whether or not, at Star Tours you can go to Shikari or somewhere like that, or a Delphi base. That'd be kind of fun. But yeah, so yes, still valid in my mind, and it always will be. It's the first one as well, so I think that's the other thing, isn't it? It's it holds a kind of like a sweet spot in people's hearts.
Heck yeah, no, it does. It's that nostalgia thing. 30 plus years ago, I took my son. He was 2 or 3 years old, and we absolutely loved it. So it was great. So I have two Star Wars kind of Disney and future kind of adjacent things related to this. One, I had talked to you about Star Wars Disney characters, the best or your favorite Star Wars Disney characters that were just from the Disney era. And I said I might bring that up to you the next time we talk. I got a handful of responses back, and I'm going to read through the top list here. And when I tell you the list, and I put it on another show before, so for people who are hearing this again, sorry, but I wanted to hear Mr. Mulcaster's ideas on this. A bunch of them were bunched together, meaning they all had similar amounts of votes from people that I got. So the top tier of Star Wars Disney characters, not made pre-Disney, that started after Disney took it over. Mando, Andor, Hera, and Luthen. Those were the top 4. They all got the same amount of votes. So basically that top tier right there. The next tier, Grogu, Krennic, K2SO. One by himself was the next one by himself was Kanan Jarrus. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 8. So I'll go the next here. We'll just do like top 15. So Kanan Jarrus was 8. So all again grouped together: Cal Kestis, Chopper, Jyn Erso, Clea, Cara Dune, Ezra. So that was out of the votes that I got from people, because I got some crazy votes in here. I got the ice spiders from the Frog Lady. I got Pelimoto. I got a little bit. I got Neil from Skeleton Crew. I mean, I got a little bit of everything in there. But listening to that top list there, do any of those stand out as people who you're like, wow, I'm surprised they're in it? Or there's people in that list that you're going, man, where was this person? Any thoughts originally?
I mean, I tell you what, this is the thing, is like, when you do that, when you go through just that list, you remind yourself, actually, in the 15 years that Disney has owned us, how many characters and how much, different shows and films. I wanted to say content, but I hate using the word content, but new adventures in the galaxy far, far away, compared to, let's say, the previous 30 years or so. No one that I'm aware of is from, because everybody seems to be pretty much from like Rogue One, Rebels, Andor, mainly, but of the top ones that you mentioned, which is completely understandable.
And to let you know, I had 8 people submit this. These were either my co-hosts or people who responded to me from it. Yeah. And out of those 8 people, I probably had 60 different characters get votes.
I can imagine, because from what's missing quite notably is any sequel trilogy characters, really, like Rey.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is kind of when you think about it, it's like, yeah, but again, that could just be down to the demographic of people that you asked.
Correct.
No,
Ray Poe and Finn were all in that next tier. So they were probably in the top 20, 25. So, but Kylo Ren was also in that tier. So from 15 to like 25, all 4 of them were in that. And so was BB-8. So that tells you, where they kind of stood in that.
None comic characters.
No. The only thing I saw was Cal Kestis from the games. We did get people voting for things that some Bad Batch characters showed up in the top 30 or so. What surprised me, and I think it's just because of the newness, like Devin and Jedi Master Eco
Decky Doki.
Iki Decky, whatever. Each one of them got like one vote, right?
I mean, they're quite new.
Skeleton Crew, barely anything. Kenobi series. I mean, there were some new characters added in there, but not that many. Grand Inquisitor was also in the top 25. So I'm just trying to think. Book of Boba Fett. Cobb Vanth was pre Disney, so I don't think he was allowed to be in the voting because he had been. Cobb Vanth had been in novels or comics, I believe, before.
He'd been in the Aftermath books.
Yes. Been in something else? Yeah, there were. I think he was in the Marvel comics, and I think. I mean, I think they made a variation, but you can look it up. But I think Cobb Vanth, he did not even get any votes on there. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting. And you're right. The demographics, these were people who were either on my podcast or people who had been on the podcast. And I asked for a quick, give me your top 10, give me your top whatever. And
which like is hard because it's hard in respects because it's very easy to go, Mando, Krennic, Andor, and stuff. But actually, I would like to submit for your consideration. I'll just put one extra name just to save you writing notes. Dr. Aphra. I really like Dr. Aphra.
Dr. Aphra got 2 votes out of the 8 people. So
two people have got some taste. According to Wikipedia, first appearance is Aftermath. So that's
really.
So that's the first.
Well, I'm gonna put that on there because nobody voted for him, but I thought he was there anyway. So
I mean, you know what? He's one of those characters that, there's really cool characters, but because they're not really recurring as such. And we still, I mean, he could, return. I mean, it's like it never really particularly felt like he had died. So he was. I think it's just shot, wasn't he? I think
he was on the support system that Boba Fett had been on.
Yeah, back to tank or something. Yeah. But so I mean, but then again, that's like one of those things, isn't it? It's like I think we were talking the other day about it. It's like some people are expecting from the Mando and Grogu film to, there to be like a raft of returning characters, for that film, and very disappointed. And I'm like, but that just plays into the hands of people saying, it means I've got to do homework. I don't know whose characters because I haven't watched Mando.
Right.
So,
it's funny because in a recent show, I was talking to a guest and we talked about how many layers there really are to being a Star Wars fan and joining into either a new series or a new movie. And not only is you're paying for streaming on Disney, okay? You're paying exorbitant prices usually at a theater to go see it. But then there's the price of admission of the knowledge and the studying and the homework that you have to do before you watch the show. And I think something that's 50 years old, you really have to add that in as a layer. There's a lot of new people who are probably going, I'd like to watch that, but I don't have time to go back and read books, do comics, watch shows, watch old movies. Make it easy. Can I just walk right into a new story and go?
This is the problem. This is inherently the problem with a multi-generational franchise, they kind of did part of it when they reclassified Expanded Universes Legends, and the amount of people who threw their toys and their pram, out of the pram, and in fact threw their pram as well with the toys because of it. It was quite remarkable. But yeah, this is the thing. It's like, how do you do this going forward? And this is kind of actually why I think there's a lot of hope behind Starfighter, because it feels like it's not a reset, it's not a reboot, it's just like there's a little bit of space and a gap, and like this would be a good point to jump in on, and if that's the case, that's fine. How long it needs to stay like that for, if you're with me, so like you get, I don't know, let's say they do Starfighter does really well, and actually I think they've said that there might be the possibility of like at least another film, if not more. At what point do you then kind of start to bring in elements, characters or something from, from, let's say, the legacy of Star Wars into it, like your Cobb Vanth or your Peli Motto, for example, if anything? I don't know, just two random characters.
Sure. Yeah. I think you can have that mix, and this is gonna merge over into the topic that we talked about 2 months ago that we never really fully dove into. But the whole idea of a reboot versus a fresh start versus where we go from here, I think you can do it the right way to where you tantalize the original fans or the prequel fans, the people who've been around for a long time, by adding in those layers or those characters or locations or ships, but at the same time trying and doing new things around them, right? That there is a way to do that. I know you probably read all the things that came down the pipeline, and this is post you and I talking about the Star Wars need a reboot, or would it, do well with a reboot? My initial answer, just to make it short and sweet, no, I don't think reboot is the way to go. And then you see the articles come out with like insiders saying Star Wars is going to focus, because they know legacy characters bring in viewers, right? We're going to look at one movie a year, 2 shows a year, all those kind of things. They, a lot of Filoni's future ideas are New Republic era related. I think it falls into what I was going to tell you was, and I think I briefly mentioned it, don't reboot. Just make it all connect. Make it make sense. Build me that bridge, whether it's animated series of Luke running a academy, and you see a young Ben and all these kind of things. Whatever, show me that buildup of the First Order, right? Build all that into where when we get to The Force Awakens, the end of the Return of the Jedi to the beginning of The Force Awakens all makes sense to me. It feels just like, oh, well, I left there. Oh, okay. Now I get all the way to here. And yeah, there can be some holes, whatever. I mean, there's holes in the original, in the prequel era, but I don't want to reboot. And I think the main reason is I don't know if I trust the people who would reboot it. I mean, you're going to reboot a story about Luke Skywalker. You're going to reboot a story about Han Solo. They are where they are, and they became who they became. Just make it all mesh together. And I'm hoping this new game plan makes sense. But if that's the case, if we're looking at 1 movie a year, 2 shows a year, you better be putting that plan together right now, because in a year you're going to be releasing Starfighter. You're going to have to come out guns blazing after that.
Which I think they are. I think that's kind of like what the because that memo, I think, which kind of that came, I think, more from Disney than an internal memo, didn't it? That two series 1 film thing, from what I understand. This is a problem. Well, it's not a problem. This is some of the inherent risks with with that, with filling up the Mando era timeline. And I think we could probably say, on one hand, Ahsoka has not done it very well in season 1, because it alludes and it assumes that the viewer is up to date and knows exactly what these characters' relationships are. And even, I think, to an extent, some of the, like, even us who, don't necessarily, well, let me say it again, some of us who obviously are up to date and all that, I think we're still, like, and there's a mystery behind that as to, like, what went down between Sabine and Ahsoka. And if that's something that we're going to explore more in season 2, great. But the problem is, it was clear from people who hadn't seen it, speaking to some of them, that actually they felt like there was something that they weren't quite getting from Ahsoka, and that's a problem. And so you've got to then be able to introduce people, and specifically if there's any kind of importance to them, in a way whereby it's not just kind of like exposition heavy, but yet the significance of our character is brought into the new series or film, and people understand it without them feeling like they're missing out on something, and also that they now need to go back after they've watched the film and pay for their Disney Plus subscription. If they want to, as in, like, that character excites them and it's a really cool character, and if they want to find out more about Pelimoto and her Jawa relationships, well, then great, that's fine. That's something, but it should. This is the thing is, and this is where it gets really. It takes a real fine, like artful kind of like way of writing to kind of to do that. If it was me, probably I think I would just draw a line after episode 9, as it were, for now, and then have just set stuff like way in the, way in the future. Not necessarily like 5,000 years, but let's say even 100 years or something, whereby the legacy and the legends of Luke Skywalker and stuff like that is a legend and it's a legacy, and there's no risk that people are like, oh yeah, but we can still get like people to come back, and that it's like, no, it's 120 years, 150 years, and
and I will tip my cap to you on that, because one of the series that I really love that didn't get enough credit, in my opinion, was the Star Wars Legacy comic series. The 125 years after, and it's Cade Skywalker and, the Empire and the Jedi and all these things have either joined forces or built up new, realms of kingdoms, whatever, and I really enjoy that. And you're right. It was good to have an old character maybe show up as a Force ghost or as an old video that they could watch and learn something from, but it was an all new era.
Yeah,
it's an all new world. Yeah,
and then because then I mean, and I know they kind of slightly covered it in Mando and Grogu, but like if you were to have a, let's, for lack of a better term, a Cade Skywalker type character who is maybe dealing with the fact that his name, like the surname, the family name, is bringing a lot of kind of like pressure, and maybe this is like, he's like, I'm not cut out for this. I'm going to go sit in a cantina and get drunk and spend all my money on pod races or something like that. That kind of slightly a typical trope of like down and out, kind of like, because they don't want to deal with the weight of an expectation of, like, their family's legacy or something. Then, but that could be quite interesting, because I mean, everybody knows. I mean, I would think pretty much, to a man and a woman who's able to go and see a film in cinema, like in this day and age, knows who Han, Luke, and Leia is. Yeah, I think it's pretty. It might be slightly sweeping thing, but the problem is that, like, how many people actually know who Finn, Poe, and Rey are? And or even fewer people of that actually really kind of like are that interested about what happens to them after episode 9. So it's an interesting situation to be in, and I'm glad it's not me who's having to.
Me too. I watched a documentary recently about the Roman Empire, and it amazed me that we all think we know a lot of history on something like that. But then we look at, let's just say 700-year time frame where Rome was, ruling the world basically. But the amount of infighting and the amount of civil wars going on in there at the same time really blew me away. But I almost feel like you could take the word Roman Empire out and put the word Star Wars in there and just put the fandom. The fandom it's a huge global encompassing fandom, right? But the amount of infighting, civil war, and battles going on of I'm a prequel person, I'm an original trilogy person, I'm a sequel person, I'm a comics, I'm a video gamer, I'm a Legos. There's all those different factions, but the Roman Empire still stood, even with all that going on. So I think that Star Wars can still stand. It's just got to make sure those divides don't become too much. And like we said, make it a big tent and make it to where there's new people coming in. And then there's people who are fading away after 50 years of watching it. So,
yeah. Well, this is it. I mean, like there's never been a point in time up until now, really, where, some kind of fandom has lasted and has spanned the generations and has been in the forefront of pop culture for as long as Star Wars has, really. I know you've got Star Trek, which is kind of similar age, and Bond, but things with Bond, I think a lot of fans are aging out of it. The Daniel Craig films, by and large, didn't attract a younger audience, not a super young audience, in the same way as, say, like a Roger Moore or Sean Connery film did. It wasn't capturing the 6 and the 8-year-olds like it did back when I was 6 and 8. So.
I think Star Wars can learn from that, though, because they made it to where you knew James Bond and you knew the character and you knew the setting for the most part that James Bond was in, but it never tied itself down like all of us crazy Star Wars fans have, to where you could just have a new Bond film every other year. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be, hey, I'm going to go back and watch 20 some odd Bond films. I'm just going to watch a new Bond film. Yeah.
Well, because there was no continuity. Correct. And what continuity was there was actually just by happenstance and circumstance and the fact that actually they liked the actors, right? So it's, I mean, like, blimey, Des Llewellyn, who played Q, was in From Russia with Love. No. Yes, From Russia with Love, his first one, to 1963, right up until like I should know this, Die Another Day. No, The World Is Not Enough. Sorry, 1999. Okay, and and by and rights, he must have been about 900 years old. And really, he shouldn't be working for the British government at that point. They would have retired him and pensioned him off years ago, right?
Right.
But it's Q. That's he's a belovable character. I suppose you could say similarly in the same way as, like, say, Chewbacca is, really, on some levels. But there's no continuity about it, really, as such. One day, Q gets up, goes to the office, and there's a guy who's got a Scottish accent called James Bond. The next day, James Bond comes in and he's got an Australian accent. I mean, go figure.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
but that's fantastic.
So the question is, actually, what I was going to say is whether or not, like me and you and the fans, we worry about this stuff, but maybe actually the thing Lucasfilm need to do is they just need to, I wouldn't say forge ahead without being completely self-aware, but maybe just focus on what's coming, what they're doing next. What's a 5-year plan for Star Wars?
Correct.
Because in fact, actually, it's probably going to be a 10-year plan, just because of how long it takes films to be made, to be written and produced and greenlit, and respond to audiences as well.
And I'm not going to keep you much longer. We'll hop off here because, Joe with his breakaway from the day. I'm talking to a number of fans my age or in their 40s or whatever, and I think we're all kind of saying we're okay as long as the quality's there. We're okay with a Star Wars movie every 3 years, every 2 years. It doesn't have to be every year, because don't rush it. Take your time, breathe into it, make some stories, make it to where you're wanting to know the backstories that happened between these films, right? I mean, it worked quite a bit from the 70s to the early 2000s to do it that way. And even those got kind of, some of those movies got struck down or talked poorly about, but still it felt like it built something more than just trying to, hey, here's our plan. We got to make back our 4 billion. We're going to do a movie every year, show every, 2 shows every year. Hey, let it breathe. Let's talk about this. Yeah. Like you said, let's have a 10-year plan. Let's have a 10-year plan. Let's follow it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just, or just some kind of follow through, like announce a film, release a thing, And they did that with Mando and Grogu, and they're doing that with Starfighter. It all sounds very positive and stuff. And apparently, the Simon Kinberg films are going to possibly be a trilogy, and that's going to be our next trilogy, which will lead us into, I guess, the 2030s. Which is a scary place to be anyway. So
I didn't want to think about it.
New Star Wars. I know, but and that's the thing. I mean, you do wonder though, don't you? Like, one reason for the 3-year gestation period was because it was all down to George Lucas, and now that Lucasfilm is a production company and they're not reliant on one guy running the company, writing the scripts, directing and producing, and it gives you a little bit more resilience. But I think the problem is that like we're now in this disposable world whereby like we had Maul come out straight into Mando and Grogu, and like now nobody's talking about really either of them. And Maul, like I think if like Mando and Grogu hadn't come out like 2 weeks after Maul, we would still probably be talking about Maul and digesting it and celebrating it. And I think slowing down a little bit doesn't necessarily mean that like you're losing a step or two. It just means that maybe you're appreciating what you're actually putting out.
Yep.
And I think that's a big difference between like the Disney era and the previous era, is the fact that like, you've got books, fairly like regular, but it was never a deluge, and films were an event, and it meant that actually we can, spend time to celebrate the films, hate the films, and then fall back in love with the films, which I don't think's happened just yet. It might do.
The future. What does Yoda say about the future? It's always in motion, right? That's where we're gonna have to go. We're gonna have to believe on that. Hey, you and I, we're now 10 months, 9 months, whatever, away from meeting up in California. So I'll tell you what, let's keep this countdown going. Let's keep this month by month thing going where we check in from across the pond, and we, maybe the next time we'll talk will be either celebrating the USA winning a World Cup or England coming back since 1966 and bringing back their first trophy since then. I don't know, but there's a lot of fun things on the horizon, and we'll do this countdown until we meet up. Anything you want to close up shop with here real quick?
I mean, after yesterday evening's performance, I don't think football's coming home, but if it does, hey, who knows? Maybe USA's got a bigger chance because home like field advantage is big thing. Plays a big thing, and it's not like your stadiums are particularly small, so you can get a lot of folk chanting USA. So
singing "Take Me Home, Country Road," West Virginia, Mountain Mama. Yeah, John Denver songs. They play those now. Well, hey, I appreciate you taking time away. I love these little chats that we have. I'm glad Mark Newbold got a chance to jump in with us before he had to take off. And I'm just excited where things are going, and then we get to talk every month. And let's plan some future topics for the August edition. And for everybody who's listening, watching, all that stuff, always go check out Making Tracks, Fantha Tracks. You'll love what these guys do. They got great content, and it's out there all the time. They got tons of shows, and their content on their website is great. So follow Mark Mulcaster, follow Mark Newbold, get all that stuff. But Mark, thank you again for doing this, and we'll see you in a month.
Yeah. Can I just suggest, can we start having hydration breaks during the podcast?
Yes, we can do hydration breaks.
Excellent. Brilliant.
You got it. Until next time, Mark, may the force be with you.
and with you.